My name is Ben Kittrell. I work for Gamecock Central and here with Mayor Steve Benjamin. Mr. Mayor, just for your information, Gamecock Central is an internet site with thousands of members who are avid fans of sports activities with the University of South Carolina. They're obviously quite interested in your input as the mayor of Columbia and home of the university and all its major sports activities. I've known you for several years and know you to be someone who's a wonderful friend to the university, a great fan of the university, and a great friend to many of our avid fans at the University of South Carolina, one who's my father. I'm thankful for everything that you have done as the mayor since you were elected in the summer of 2010 and the enthusiasm and the character you brought back to the office. I also want to thank you for getting back to me on such short notice to fit me into your schedule. Appreciate that. And, you may recall we met several years ago when I was working for a local political organization.
You're a young man now. You're very young.
My first question is, I know you graduated from USC in 1991, and I know you finished law school in 1994. So how tough was it to only get one win over Clemson?
Those days are kind of fuzzy, man. I remember the last 2 years a whole lot better. It was tough, you know. It wasn't just Clemson back then. I mean, I remember my first couple of years. We were playing Florida State. I remember 59-0. You know, I mean, we had some rough days back then. But just like now, and just like during the Holzer, when we went winless that season, Williams Bryce was full. I mean, we have the best fans in the country, and we're committed, and good fans and great fans are there with you when you're winning and when you're losing. And I can tell you, I don't think there's anything sweeter than getting two back-to-back wins over Clemson. We got a three-peat this year.
Many people who graduated USC, my age range, 26, 30-year-olds, take a lot of pride in being true Gamecock fans, and you've really gone through the tough times and so-called chicken curse that's now over. But was it tough for you to keep believing in the program now that you do see the success of 20 years or so?
You know, just like many folks, even folks who didn't go to USC, I love sports. I love football, I love basketball, I love baseball, and all the other major sports at the university. But my love affair with USC goes a whole lot deeper. You know, I mean, I'm a kid just like a whole lot of other kids who fundamentally had their lives changed by the chance to go to a fine institution of higher learning, get a good education, make some awesome friendships that have lasted the entirety of my adult life. So I love the university, and to have a winning sports program, I tell you what makes it that much sweeter. So yeah, there's a lot of Gamecock pride. I tell folks my blood runs with Garnet. It does, and wherever we go around the country, I brag about what we're doing here. I signed in at the Conference of Mayors meeting a couple months ago. I signed in Steve Benjamin, Mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. I wrote "Gamecocks" next to it. Of course, every mayor that came behind me had the right, whatever they had to support their respective institutions. But of course, the mayor of Orlando, Florida, who's a big Florida fan, was there, and also the mayor of Los Angeles, who were in Los Angeles. So our two most recent national baseball championship victims took note of that. So
I have to ask you this: who's your favorite Gamecock football player of all time?
You know, and probably we've had some studs, but I tell you, this team right now is so deep and rich in talent. I mean, you know, I'll tell you, the last few weeks of just watching Marcus Lattimore and Jadeveon Clowney and Melvin Ingram, you know, along with all the cast of characters playing. I mean, this may change in the next few years, but I'm a Sterling Sharp guy. Sterling Sharp and Ryan Bethea were the most exciting guys. You know, Sterling was steady, but they had a gift. You know, and I think, you know, after this season, next season, watching these guys, watching Alshon play, that could probably change, because I just think we're so deep and rich in talent right now. You just never know what's going to happen every Saturday. We got I think probably more guys on this team now who will be playing on Sundays than we probably have ever had at one time, and it's exciting.
When you were at the university, who do you think would have been maybe your favorite player? And I printed a list out of some of the famous athletes.
One that on here is Mike Dingle too. Mike was probably the biggest running back I'd ever seen in my life at the time. a lot of these guys are personal friends too. Brooks was exciting when he played. Robert Brooks was exciting. I'd say Sharp and probably Todd Ellis. Todd's a dear friend. I remember NC State. He got hurt and broke our hearts. Broke his leg, broke our hearts. But Hal Green, awesome player. We had some pretty. It's interesting to really look at it in a comprehensive list like this, but good stuff.
Any thoughts about the current situation of the USC football program and the compliance staff after the recent allegations by the NCAA about allegedly some special housing benefits, reduced rates to some student athletes at the Whitney Hotel? And is it a relationship, I believe, athlete mentoring foundation? Do you think it should merit penalties for the university? There's a lot of debate going on.
I'll tell you, the nuances of NCAA compliance. I mean, it's a different world. I mean, and I think what most folks will tell you, most Gamecocks will tell you, is that we just want equity. You know, I mean, if we want to make sure that the Cox are treated just like kids at Brown University and Providence be treated just like kids at Auburn University would be treated. We want equity, and I think, if something's been done wrong, we want it fixed. We want whoever's done wrong to be held accountable for it, and we need to move on. And I think those two situations in particular are probably very different. And but let's just make sure that all players across the conference are treated equally. And I think that's probably while many of us are willing to admit that some things should not have happened, we just want to make sure we're being treated fairly.
Have any one specific player on the 2011 football team who you think has contributed the most to his success thus far?
Well, I'll tell you, Marcus has had some awesome games, and I think he's also just an incredible role model. And I think that's what you usually hear after you hear how many runs, how many carries they had, and how many yards he ran for. But the defense on this team has just been awesome, and I think a bunch of guys performing, but Ingram and Clowney have been. I mean, every play, I'm just watching those guys, just wanting to see what happens next. And Clowney's contributing so much as a true freshman, and Ingram's just he's a get it done guy. He's gonna make it happen. And so I'd say probably Ingram and Clowney in that order.
You mentioned sort of how the sports teams have helped out, but how do you feel like they've sort of contributed to Columbia?
Oh man, I'll tell you, people have given the city and me a lot of credit for going off the first and the second parade on behalf of the Gamecock baseball team, and I've tried to help folks realize, it's kind of the easiest party in the world to throw. I mean, you're gonna set it up, the people are gonna show up because the amount of pride that those young men have brought to this community. I mean, it helps in so many different respects. I mean, it's not just a talking point. I was on the phone with the mayor, a conference call, a video conference with the mayor of Salta, Argentina yesterday. And we're talking baseball. Through a translator. He loves baseball. We're talking about our World Championship Gamecocks. It's become a tool in everything from economic development and cultural development to just helping lift the collective community spirits. We've got a team of performers led by a coach who's a world-class guy, and it helps. It just helps in so many different respects. And watching what we did with the parade for the baseball team, I'd be afraid to see the football team win an SEC championship.
That was going to be my next question. So.
Or a major bowl. We'll have to shut the city down, bro. We will have to shut the city down, and it'll be some incredibly exciting times for all of us.
Thoughts on the recruiting efforts of the university and its coaches by the coaches in the last few years under Coach Spurrier, especially the additions of Marcus Lattimore, Alshon Jeffrey, Clowney, Stephon Gilmore, those guys.
Ben, so happy to have you here because I think you guys are emblematic of one of the major challenges when you talk to business leaders or academics or just parents. We want to make sure we keep our best talent home. We talk about the brain drain or the sports drain, whatever it happens to be. We know that inside the four walls of South Carolina, we're the best athletes. We have some brilliant academics. We have people who are incredible artists. Our goal is to try to create an environment where you guys want to stay and where you want to stay. And what Coach Spurrier and his team have done to keep the best players right here, helping raise the program here at South Carolina. It's reaping instant rewards for the program, for the university, for all of us. So it's a great thing.
Do you feel like it is it going to help draw larger crowds or maybe help revenues for the city?
When the Gamecocks win, the economy wins. I mean, really, people, more people come to games, of course, more people tailgate. People are more likely to stay overnight, spend a weekend here. There's a direct correlation between a successful sports program and the economy here in Columbia. A direct connection.
What are your expectations for the football team for the remainder of the season? Do you think the Gamecocks have a chance to make it to the SEC championship game or possibly go to a BCS bowl game?
I do. Some people might say it's an odd year when you're worrying about your performance against Vanderbilt, if that's going to be an indicator of what you can do. And the way we played against Vanderbilt, we got to get our offense on the run. I'm hoping and praying that Stephen Garcia can turn the corner. We've seen what he can do when he wants to. If he can make some better decisions on the field, he's got the heart of a lion. He'll take a hit like anyone. If he can make some better decisions on the field and our offense can get up and running, then I feel we can go all the way. We can be right back in the championship game.
Well, maybe not back to the baseball team and its success under Coach Tanner and its 2 national championships. And I know you touched on this a little bit. What are your thoughts on the baseball team, and how have his efforts and winning tradition sort of helped build the program and build the city?
Omaha knows the Gamecocks. It really has become an incredible point of personal pride for this city. If you walk up Main Street right now, you'll see the banners are still up, and they will probably stay up. We want to make sure everyone who comes to the city knows that we are the home of the world champion Gamecocks back to back. And I know as unlikely as it was to repeat, I can only imagine what the odds are. I have to call somebody in Vegas to figure what the odds are to repeat. But recruiting's going well. Coaching staff is still in place. We got these guys are just are good, solid players. A couple superstars, thank God. We held those out pitchers. But we got these guys have character. They're good, solid team. Care about each other. They work hard, play hard, and I think the impact that they've had on this community will be felt for years to come. I'd be willing to call it a dynasty right now. We got a good thing going.
Each year, it seems that one or more student athletes are in the news, and with allegations of maybe drinking in excess down to 5 points. Do you have any thoughts about how USC student athletes can handle themselves better when going to clubs and bars in 5 points locations, in the 5 points location, and sort of why does that seem to be a problem for the players in Columbia? Do you have any ideas?
I'm not sure if it's as much a problem. They have of course, the only advice would be please don't go on the bar unless you're 21 or older. And if you do, we have to recognize, first of all, as a community, that these are just young men, young women. They're still, young. So let's recognize that we have to take that into account. At the very same time, they need to recognize that they're not regular kids. They're not regular young people, and that the scrutiny on them, because they're 6'4" and 240 pounds, kind of stand out in the crowd. And there are some folks who may like it, may not like it, may target you, and they've got to, although it's not fair at all times, they've got to take that into account and recognize that even if they're not wearing the jersey, they're wearing the jersey of the university, and we got to make sure that they have to make sure they're good stewards of it. I just want, just as I talked about the other issue earlier, I really want these young men and women to be treated fairly, and that's something that I know is very difficult, particularly when law enforcement officers are just doing a job on the street. It's sometimes depending on who you get, some folks might be a little overzealous, and God knows, when someone gets too much of that liquid courage in them, they might be a little bit overreaching too, and once you've had too many drinks. So it's a delicate situation for anyone to find themselves in. We just want to make sure that the kids are treated fairly, but they also recognize that, like it or not, they're role models, and everyone's paying attention to what they do. So we want them to be cognizant of what they do while they're here. Students recognize whatever they do here will follow them in their future life too. So we want them all to be successful.
I mean, obviously there have been less arrests and less news since Coach Spurrier's come in in the last few years. And I think that's sort of what you're talking about, is building character within the program. But maybe you think an alternative could be for USC not allowing them to even go down to 5 points or attend these clubs?
Yeah, I gotta tell you, the burdens, and I wasn't a student athlete. This whole thing with hand-eye coordination that kind of eluded me when it comes to certain sports. But gosh, what would it be like to be a college student and not be able to be a college student? And I think some team rules that allow them to be productive on the field, still of course be great students, which we fully expect of them, but allow them to, in some way, still appreciate and value what will hopefully be the best 4 years of your life. College is great, it's fun, and I don't want to take that away from them just because they also happen to be gifted on the gridiron. So let's I'll leave the old ball coach. I'll take his advice on how he wants to do it. But I'd hate to take away all social opportunities from these young people. And again, what hopefully will be the best 4 years of their lives.
All right, I got USC or Kentucky.
We'll go with Kentucky.
What's the score?
We'll be about 14.
14.
I'll give it a shot. I'll say 35-21.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, buddy. All right.